Hello and welcome to How to Deal with Grief and Trauma. My name is Natalie Himmelrich. How to Deal with Grief and Trauma is completely self-funded, produced and edited by me, Natalie Himmelrich. Consider making a small donation to support the podcast. Go to bit.ly/support, capital G, capital T, and podcast. I repeat, bit.ly/supportgt podcast. Thank you so much. And for more information, please visit Natalie's website, join the podcast Instagram page, and subscribe to the newsletter to receive updates on future episodes. Welcome to this special series on the many faces of trauma. In each episode, we'll explore one trauma type in a clear, gentle way, what it is, how it can show up in daily life, and one small step that can help your nervous system feel a little safer. Nothing here is meant to diagnose you, and you're always invited to take what fits and leave the rest. And because this is trauma work, we'll end every episode with a short grounding practice you can do anywhere. Today we're exploring society-shaped trauma, starting with discrimination and minority stress. This stays general and non-graphic, but it may feel personal for some listeners. If you notice activation, tightness, or shutdown, you're welcome to pause and return when it feels right. Why this belongs in a trauma series. When people hear trauma, they often think of a single event. But trauma can also form when the nervous system lives with ongoing vigilance. Because of how society responds to your identity, your body, your language, your skin color, your religion, your gender expression, your disability, your neurodivergence, your migration status, or your community. This is not about making the word trauma mean everything. It's about naming a specific pathway, chronic stress that comes from being treated as unsafe, less than, or unwelcome, again and again. And for helpers, partners, or clinicians, this episode is an invitation to understand that what looks like anxiety, avoidance, or irritability may be reasonable nervous system responses to a real environment. As always, let's start with a simple definition. Discrimination and minority stress is a chronic strain that comes from living in a societal environment where you're repeatedly exposed to bias, exclusion, stereotyping, or threat because of a part of who you are. It can include obvious discrimination in being denied opportunities, treated unfairly. It can also include microaggressions, small comments or behaviors that signal you don't belong, or stereotyping and being typecast, having to prove yourself repeatedly, or being watched, questioned, or suspected. It can also include experiencing fear of retaliation if you speak up, and the internal strain of constantly assessing, is it safe to be fully myself here? It's not only the incident, it's the accumulation and the anticipation. Imagine someone who walks into a room and immediately starts scanning. Who is here? How will I be read? What do I need to adjust so I don't stand out? Nothing dramatic happens. People are polite, and yet their shoulders are tense, their stomach is tight, their mind is alert. They replay conversations afterwards wondering, did I say too much? Did I confirm a stereotype? Did I misstep? Over time, this person becomes excellent at performing acceptable. But they're exhausted because their nervous system rarely gets to turn off. That's minority stress. Not always the moment, but the constant monitoring. Let's look through the polyvagal lens and what happens when belonging isn't guaranteed. From a polyvagal-informed perspective, your nervous system is always evaluating safety through cues like facial expression, tone, proximity, unpredictability, whether you are respected or dismissed, whether you can relax or must perform. Discrimination and minority stress can create a chronic, not safe enough backdrop, which pushes the system towards protection. In the two states that we already know, which are mobilized protection or shutdown protection, this can look the following way. So in mobilized protection, it can look like hypervigilance, scanning, feeling startled, an anxiety or irritability, trying to be perfect and over-preparing for situations, and anger that comes quickly, which is a protective boundary signal. In the shutdown protection, this can look like emotional numbness, disassociation, fog, withdrawal, silence, and feelings that go along the line of why bother? And many people cycle, they push through in mobilization and then collapse into shutdown. Again, it's not weakness. This is an adaptation of the nervous system. An important part of minority stress is that it often adds an invisible second job. There's external stress and there's internal management. This can show up as code switching, changing language, tone, and behavior to be accepted, or masking, hiding parts of yourself to reduce risk, or educating others or deciding when not to. A constant self-checking, asking yourself, am I safe here? Should I speak? Should I disappear? This is exhausting because the nervous system isn't only dealing with the situation, it's managing the risk of the situation. Over time, this can contribute to chronic stress symptoms, burnout-like states, increased sensitivity to rejection, and difficulty trusting safety, even in supportive spaces. And an important note, not everyone wants to talk about identity all the time. Sometimes people just want relief. Sometimes they want practical support. This episode is here to validate the nervous system impact and offer doable regulation, not to force anyone into a narrative. Let's have a look at the common patterns, how this can show up. So in the body, as I mentioned already, it can come in chronic tension, jaw or shoulder tightness, a gut sensitivity under social stress, sleep disruptions before high exposure situations, or headaches and fatigue. On an emotional level, it can show up as irritability, overwhelm, shame or not enough feelings, anger that is hard to contain, or a sense of numbness after social contact. On the behavioral level, it can come up as avoiding certain spaces, trying to overperform or strive for perfectionism, people-pleasing or staying silent, or pulling back from relationships to conserve energy. Meaning making, so you might hear sentences or catch yourself thinking, I have to work twice as hard. Or if I make one mistake, it will be used against me. Or a very common one, belonging is conditional. So a few directions that hopefully are supportive of what helps. 1. Name the cost without questioning your reality. This could be said in sentences such as, this is exhausting, or this vigilance makes sense. 2. Seek low-demand belonging. One place, one relationship, or one community where you don't have to perform. Or practice boundary micro skills. For example, say, I'm not available for that conversation, or I'm going to step away. Another good one is, I'll answer that another time. Because boundaries reduce nervous system load. Number 4, resourcing after exposure. After a stressful social or work situation, take time for some moment to yourself. Some water, fresh air, music with headphones, speaking to a safe person. Anything that tells your body this exposure is over. And number 5, support that understands the context is vital. Seek trauma-informed help that doesn't individualize what is also environmental. And for supporters, often the most regulating response is not advice, it's belief. Simply say, I believe you. That makes sense. What would feel supportive right now? For our grounding practice today, which I called Orient and Belonging Cue, I designed something for minority stress. It supports the nervous system to find present moment cues of safety and belonging, even if they're small. So step 1, orient to neutrality. Look around and find one neutral object. Let your eyes rest there for a moment. Step 2, find one cue of welcome. One cue of welcome should be something that feels even slightly welcoming or pleasant. It might be a color, a plant, a soft texture, some light on a surface, and let your system register some things are okay right now. Step 3, find a supportive posture. I'll give you an example. Press your feet into the floor gently and lengthen your spine a little. Not rigid, just supported. And feel into this for a moment. Step 4, one belonging sentence. Say gently and softly to yourself, I belong to myself. Or alternatively, I am allowed to take up space. And then step 5, exhale, release. Take a couple of breaths where you accentuate the longer exhales once or twice, as if you're letting your shoulder drop. If you'd like support as you move through this series, check my website for the free resources offered for both those affected by grief, loss, and trauma, and those supporting them. In the next episode, we'll continue society-shaped trauma for another angle, the one on poverty, insecurity, and social exclusion, and how scarcity and instability shape the nervous system. Until then, take care of yourself. Thanks for listening to How to Deal with Grief and Trauma. If you'd like to be updated on future episodes, please subscribe to my newsletter on nataliehimmelrich.com. If you need grief support, please contact me for a 30 minutes free discovery session. How to Deal with Grief and Trauma is produced and edited by me, Natalie Himmelrich. To support this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe to or follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you. And remember to keep breathing. I promise it will get easier.